The Carnival Conquest, a 23-year-old ship with a very unique layout.
Learn about the tips and tricks that we got all to ourselves from our very first sailing aboard this ship and our very first sailing with Carnival on our 4-day Bahamas cruise. Stick around, you won't want to miss it. Today on This Happy Place.
Hi friends, and welcome to This Happy Place. I'm Taylor.
And I am Jake.
And as we said, we recently sailed on the Carnival Conquest to the Bahamas, and it's time for our tips and tricks video.
We tend to cruise a lot, and for every new cruise ship we go on, we do a tips and tricks video for you, so that if you're going to sail on that ship anytime in the near future, you can learn from our mistakes and take that with you, and hopefully make your experience that much better.
So you should definitely hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of those videos in the future, along with vlog series and other sit-down informational videos that we like to provide for you.
Before we jump into the tips and tricks, let's review the Carnival Conquest to get to know her a little better.
She was built in 2002 and has a capacity of 2,980 passengers and 1,150 crew.
She has 1,490 cabins, 13 decks, and is themed to 19th century Impressionist art and the Moulin Rouge district of France.
Ooh la la. Let us know in the comments down below when your next trip on the Conquest is, if you have one booked, and if you have already sailed on the Conquest, let us know what you thought of the ship. We will have a full review coming up in just a couple of weeks to let you know what we thought of our experience.
Now, full disclosure, since this was our first cruise on Carnival, some of our tips may be a little broad and general, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be helpful. They will still apply if you're sailing on any Carnival ship, and there will be some that do specifically apply to this one.
So let's get started with number 1.
For Carnival, check-in is 15 days ahead of when you depart for your cruise. A lot of cruise lines don't start until a particular time when you can check in. With Carnival, it is midnight. Like, as early on the 15th day before you can cruise as possible is when you can check in. So if you want those super early check-in times, the super early times when you can get to the port, you may as well do it as early as you can on that 15th day prior to departure. But you will want to have your confirmation number, names of all passengers, and birthdays of all passengers before you start that check-in process.
And number 2, you are already doing research for your next cruise on the Conquest, so good for you, but we have to recommend doing even more, and that is going to include watching a ship tour or 2 or 3. Ours will be out next week, so keep an eye out for that. But the reason we say this is because this ship layout is incredibly confusing and has quite a few you can't get there from here areas. You'll go down a staircase thinking that you are in the right place and you're not, and you have to go back up 1 or 2 flights of stairs in order to get where you're heading, whether that be aft or forward. Jake watched
Many ship tours.
and we still were lost literally the whole time we were on the ship.
Number 3. Again, this was our first cruise on Carnival, so perhaps we were not prepared. We didn't have our expectations set correctly. That being said, I've never been on a cruise ship where it was commonplace for the passengers on board to eat their food in the buffet and then take their half-eaten plate of food and set it down on a hand wash station, and then somebody to set it down on that. I've never been in the buffet on any cruise ship and seen people walking around in bare feet. I've never seen so many people reuse plates and reuse glasses. In general, the level of hygiene and manners were way below what we were expecting, and honestly, what's safe and considerate on a cruise ship when you're surrounded by that many people in confined environments.
Especially in February, which is a very sick season to begin with.
So if you sail on Carnival a lot, maybe you can inform us and the rest of everybody else watching. Comment below if you have experienced things like that, or was our experience unique to this ship and this sailing.
And number 4, the Conquest goes to Princess K's a lot. And yes, we say K's because that's what everyone on the ship, working on the ship, said. So So we're just repeating what they say. But just know that your drink package does not work on the private beach on Princess K's. That also goes for the little stands that some locals have set up there. That's gonna be all cash only. But the great news is that there are bill breakers, several of them located on the ship. So just go, take your 20s, break them down into 5s to make things a little bit easier. And that's gonna go for the private beach and when you're in Nassau, just to have some smaller bills.
Best not to do it right before you debark the ship on port day though, because those lines did get pretty long. Number 5. On this ship, there is the Serenity adults only area. And while it's a lovely place to be, there wasn't a ton of seating compared to some other adult-only areas that we've been on other cruise lines and other ships. So, if you plan on spending a lot of time there, make sure you get there early enough to snag yourself a seat and claim it. While people aren't allowed to reserve loungers, we certainly saw that happening, and at times it could be very hard to find a place to set your drink down or set yourself down to enjoy the serenity that is.
They have a lot of those large circular, they're like mattresses basically, large loungers with a cover, and those went really quickly. So if you want one of those, you're gonna wanna go in the morning. And this goes for the regular pool deck too, especially on your sea day. It filled up fast and stayed full the entire day.
Oh yeah.
Which was great. It was a party, but we definitely had to do some searching to find a spot midday. And number 6, if it's a little loud, a little crazy, and you're looking for a quiet place to go during the day, you're gonna wanna head to deck 5 all the way aft. This is a party central area at night, but during the day, it was basically empty all of the time. And that's gonna include the Degas Lounge, Vincent's Bar, and the Blues Piano Bar. Literally, there would be no one in it. And the Degas Lounge in particular, huge, nice, comfy seatings, and the whole way aft, there is a bar area with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out the back of the ship. So if you needed to get a little bit of work done, you could set yourself out back there. The bar wasn't open during the day, and you'd have a nice, quiet workstation with a view.
Number 7. On Carnival Conquest, there is the highest decks you can get to, and then there is one spot above all of that. If you want to be able to get to the highest point on the ship to take in the views, the scenery around you, watch a new port coming, you're going to want to go to the observation deck. That is only accessible through the sports court. And that's pretty hard to find out because it's not evident by looking at the map that it's only accessible through the sports court.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty darn close to the last day when we finally figured out that, oh, you have to walk through somebody's pickleball game to get to the observation deck.
That's okay, they won't mind at all. They have loungers up there. They weren't set up during our cruise, so it is meant to be used, but it's in a really weird spot. And number 8. We always like to mention the smoking sections for those that need to use them and for those that want to avoid them. And on the Conquest, you're going to find those outdoors on deck 3 on the starboard side and deck 10 starboard side, midship and aft. Important to note that smoking is allowed in the casino only if you are sat at a table or at a machine and you are actively playing. You are not allowed to smoke in the bar or in the casino when it is closed, like when you're at port.
Number 9. On this particular ship, when you are at a tender port, the way that they have you disembark the ship or prepare to disembark is by going to a particular location on Impressionist Boulevard, pretty much right across where the specialty coffee place is. They set up a big board with a bunch of tickets labeled by zone 1 through like 30 or something.
Yeah.
And the morning that you would depart to go to that port, you can line up, you can queue. And if you're first in line, you get to pick what zone you want to depart with. You want to depart super early in the morning, you can get there right when they open. I, thinking that I was going to need to be there quite early, got there an hour before anybody lined up. I was like the 3rd person there. Let me just say, you don't need to get there that early. There were hundreds of tickets for the first 6 boarding groups.
Yeah.
And it's the first 6 groups, at least when we went to Princess K's, that all get to tender off at the same time in that earliest group.
Keep in mind that I think I heard the cruise director say if you wanted a zone that was between, I think she said like 9 and 10:30, those went quickly. So we wanted an earlier zone, but only by half an hour. We went back a little bit later and every zone still had tickets available.
Very true. That being said, on this particular sailing, they did let people who lined up early start picking their tickets about 25 minutes before the actual time to do so. So that was nice. If you do line up early, you have a chance of getting your ticket early.
And if you're in one of those first zones, even though they say it starts at 8:30, be prepared because zone 1 was called about 10 after 8. And we kind of had to rush because if you miss your zone, too bad. And number 10. Our experience with the entertainment on the Conquest was really good when it came to the Fun Squad. If it was an event hosted by the Fun Squad, so much fun.
Very entertaining.
To be completely honest, the main stage show, which we only saw one of them, and that was 80s Pop to the Max, was not the best.
Pretty mid.
But the Legend of Lido contest on the Sea Day, all of the music trivias were really, really fun, especially Guess That Groove. Such a good time. And then the music in the main atrium, there was a violin trio that was really good and super fun. And then there was a band in the evenings that the singer was so fantastic. And then on the last night is the Motown dance party, which I think you can't miss.
That was really something to behold.
I was really impressed with the evening entertainment in particular on the Conquest. And I think that you should find those events and go to them because it really made our trip even better. And I think we're just going to wrap it up here. Just kidding, there's a bonus.
There's a bonus tip.
Always a bonus tip. Anyway, our tip is that the Carnival Conquest sails almost exclusively out of Miami. And we had a really easy time getting on and off the ship, especially disembarkation. With Carnival, you can pick your time slot. They basically tell you when to get off. We were off the ship and through the line in minutes. It took us longer to walk than to actually have our face scanned, but that's because we had passports. I know it's an extra expense and you can sail with just your birth certificate and ID, but I think if you're sailing on the Conquest out of Miami in particular, at least in our instance, it's worth getting a passport because the line to get off the ship with just your birth certificate was hundreds and hundreds of people deep. We got off the ship late, but still, I saw that line and I was like, oh no, and then I realized it wasn't for us.
It didn't look like that line was moving either.
No.
That is not a fast process.
That is something to keep in mind. I know that sailing, out of Miami, it's a quick weekend cruise, but it might be worth considering getting a passport. It's not a bad thing to have. And also, if you are catching a ride share in Miami, once you get off the ship, be prepared for some longer waits. Miami is a humongous cruise port. I think there were 5 or 6 ships in port the day we got off of the Conquest, which means there are 5 or 6 ships worth of people trying to get a ride to the airport, most likely, or home. So expect long waits, expect prices to be a little bit higher, and expect some traffic when you're heading out of the ports, getting through the city, and getting to the airport. Just know, because you don't want to miss your flight.
All in all, the Carnival Conquest did grow on us over the course of our trip. If you're interested in seeing more about the ship, we do have an entire vlog series that's out right now. You can go and take a look at it. And very soon we're going to have a full review of the ship coming out for you to take a look at.
So thank you so much for watching. We hope this video has helped you plan for your next trip on the Carnival Conquest. If it has, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let us know. Also, share this video with your travel party so they can go in fully prepared too. But with that being said, until next time, stay magical. Bye.
That was great.
Thank you. This ring light is going to fall apart the next time you throw a ball at it, so.
Hey, for the record, I don't throw the ball at the ring light ever. I just have terrible aim.
You want to do the first sentence or the second sentence?
Sure, I'll do the first one.
No, I want to do the first one. It's shorter.
Okay.
I need it. And if you have already sailed on the so many bare feet in the buffet.
OnlyFans link in the description.
Not ours. There was a guitar. Nope. There was a violin. Stringed instrument, you know.